Senator, I'm wondering what your feelings are on this sad, sad day.
Well, you know, he's a great loss. I mean, I knew him personally, and I had enormous affection for him, and I had a lot of admiration for him as well as a legislator. I mean, he was a master legislator, and anybody who has been involved in making law, I mean, Kennedy was a legend. He was an icon. I mean, he was able to do so much, and all of us were just enormously impressed with his talent.
Let's talk about your personal relationship with the senator. What are some of the memories you take away from your time with him?
Well, what I'm most fond of him, and I was not a close personal friend. I mean, I just dealt with him as a fellow legislator and interacted with him at a lot of local events and really liked him on a personal level. But I guess a couple of things. One, to me, I love the way when we were at political events when you were coming towards an election, his ability, you'd be standing in a corner having this sort of casual conversation with him, and then it would be, his turn to go to the microphone. And he would step up, and it was like a switch went on. And he was just fantastic at getting a crowd going. And he had this ability to have this almost like a conversation with the crowd. And it was somewhat tongue-in-cheek. He would, he'd play the cornball routine, and he'd work it up. And it was the old kind of Irish Paul in him that was coming out. And he was a master at it. And as soon as it was over with, he'd turn around and the conversation would start again. And he would have the crowd eating out of his hands. I never saw anybody do it better.
Now let's look ahead if we can. I know there's been some talk up on Beacon Hill about who might represent the Commonwealth in the Senate and how that might go. What do you know about that process?
Well, I've been more involved in the last several weeks now. He sent a letter to the legislature and I think asked us to look at the whole business of the process of replacing him. Several years ago, we changed the law, and I think appropriately, to take away from the governor the power of appointment and to make a vacant Senate seat, federal Senate seat or House seat for that matter, to require a special election. And I think that was the right thing to do. But inadvertently, we failed to deal with the interim period between when the vacancy occurs and the election happens. And that's a period, it's going to be about 5 months, 4 to 5 months. And he wrote us a letter, in effect, saying, you want to think about that. And he was, in effect, saying, I'm either going to have to resign or I'm going to be dead in the near future. And you're going to have to address this issue, and you need to start having this conversation now. I don't see any logic in us having only one vote in Washington during this critical period. No one's talking about changing the special election law. That's still going to happen. But we're really just trying to address the issue of what happens between now and January when that election occurs. We need 2 votes, not 1. We're federally, under the federal Constitution, we're entitled to 2. And we know that there are going to be some big issues down there, and they're going to be fairly close votes, and every vote is going to count.
It's a sad day for all of us. Certainly a sad day for the people of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the people in the entire country. The senator is going to be a huge loss to us. He was a great statesman. He was a great politician. He was a great friend to so many people, and he was the voice of those who had no voice, and he was the voice of those who cried in the wilderness and the dark, and he will be sadly missed. As many of you know, my first entree into politics was when I was 14, and my uncle said to me, "What are you doing for the summer?" And I said, "Nothing." He said, "You are now. You're working on Ted Kennedy's Senate campaign." And I spent every day in an office on Washington Street in Boston, calling people with a headset on and a little rotary phone, and they put the Boston telephone book in front of me and said, "Just call," and I did. And I was thrilled that he won, and I think that his motivation and his spirit guided me into political life along with the rest of his brothers. So it's a sad day for me.
On the question of succession, would you support? Senator Kennedy had asked that legislature grant the governor the power to appoint an interim senator. Would you support that?
Out of respect for the family, I'm not going to get into that today, except to say that the governor, under law, will set out the precepts to the cities and towns very shortly on what that will be. There will be a special election, as you know, to fill the seat. We do have a bill in front of the legislature presently to change what the existing law is to allow for an interim appointment, and I think that most likely will be taken up in a timely fashion, and we'll explore that option.